The things that people could do with the confidence in a strong bond is to make promises and establish trust. But people just destroyed that as soon as they were given. If you're interested in more revenge stories, please hit the bell icon and subscribe to our channel. As a matter of fact, it was an unintentional love story in which I fell in love with Teresa, who was 26 years old, and I worked as a corporate agent for a company at the time, and she was a nurse. The accident that I met while I was coming back home caused me to be taken to the hospital by ambulance, where I was treated by Teresa, who came over to me and did a bandage on my leg. As a result of the accident, I had a fractured fibula bone in my left leg. She told me to calm down while she was doing the bandage. I was looking at the wound when my heart sank and started to shout as I saw the wound. She held my hand and stayed by my side for the rest of the day. As a result of this, I was admitted to the hospital for 2 months during this time. Teresa was taking care of me when she was assigned to the emergency room, but now she has been assigned to work in the orthopedic ward. In any case, she had no relation with me, but whenever she came near me, I felt as if my heart was beating faster and I was more comfortable in her presence. My mother stayed in the hospital with me for a short period of time, but she was an old woman, so I insisted her to get back to home. However, during those 2 months, we became good friends, and we were much more open with each other. As soon as I had been in the hospital for 2 months, I was told by the doctor that I would be discharged, but I was still using crutches to walk. In any case, at the time of my departure from the hospital, as a way of thanking Teresa for all she had done for me, I invited her to a fine dinner to celebrate. The lady accepted my offer, but she explained to me that she would be on night duty for a week, so she'll be available after a week. In any case, I waited for her to show up and also told me that I should see a physiotherapist to get the therapy I needed in order to be able to walk again. As a result, I contacted him and we began working together. She joined me for dinner after 1 week of being away from me. I must say that it was a very beautiful night, or perhaps it was her presence that made it so beautiful. My eyes couldn't believe on what I was watching, as she was dressed in an absolutely stunning black dress. She looked gorgeous. I jokingly said, "Teresa, I can't believe what I'm watching. Is that you? Whenever I saw you, you always dressed in hospital gowns." She laughed and said, "Yes, it's me." We had dinner together that night. In the background, there was music playing that forced me to dance, but unfortunately, because of the time constraints, I was not able to dance. The first few weeks of therapy were quite difficult for me, but as time went on, I also started to feel the power in my leg growing stronger. There were times during this period of time when Teresa visited my house to see and talk to me. I was always encouraged by her to remain patient and have the zeal to work again. The way she motivated me was very impressive. In a blink of an eye, our friendship transformed into love in the course of time. As much as I would have liked to meet up with her, the hospital routine was extremely busy, and I understood this even though sometimes it took her weeks to meet up with me. It was often that I complained to her about it, but I had gotten used to it now, so I stopped complaining about it because at her duty she tried to talk to me twice a day because she was trying her best to do so. Having worked in that hospital for a few months, she decided to join another hospital where she had known a doctor, and because of their past relationship, she had the opportunity to work flexible hours in that hospital. It was decided that we would have a time every day. I went to her hospital to pick up and then drop her off at her place after I picked her up from her hospital. There was a time when I envisioned her getting married one day. We got married, and that was the beginning of our new relationship. At first she was loving to me, but after a couple of months she started showing her true colors to me. There is no reason for her to have done that, but it has ruined my life. Because she was working in a new hospital, eventually they assigned to her the night shift, and it was the worst thing that had ever happened to her. Due to the fact that I spent all day at my job and then When I get home at night, she departs for her job as well. The situation was getting more serious by the minute. As well as having needs I also had wants. There is no doubt that sex is not everything, but it is what I needed at the time. The night is the only time when I expected to have some love and fun after I had worked in the office for the whole day hard. However, because of her job, we did not have time to do that. I was getting tired of this and I was getting fed up with it. One day we had a conflict over it and we had to resolve it. I told her to leave the job, but she refused to do so. As a result of our fight, I did not talk to her for about 1 week, but once I got over it, I found myself missing her badly and took a leave from the office so that I could spend time with her. My goal that day was to love her and convince her to accept the job problem and support her at the same time. I succeeded in convincing her and making her happy that day. On that day, we had a great time hanging out. The relationship between us was once again improving. As a result of something that happened, I became so doubtful of her. It was one night shift for her, so on a night when I arrived home, I saw the makeup kit placed on the table as if she had used it recently. Apparently, it looked like a common thing at that time, but it was a red flag for me. In my opinion, at this time of night, I would have thought she was going to the hospital, so why did she need to apply makeup at this time of night? I called her to see if she was really in the hospital or if she might be out with friends tonight and asked her if she would be hanging out with friends tonight. In response to my question, she said that she was just going to the operation room as a result of a casualty. The practice of doing makeup at night was not very common. If I recall correctly, the reason I forgot it at that time was because I had the trust in her at that time. I missed her once going that night and decided to visit her hospital to see her since prior to going. I called her in order to inform her that I would be coming to her hospital, but she did not pick up my call. It took me about 3 tries to get a response from her, but she never did. It was a worry from me about her, but I calmed myself down by realizing that she might be busy with her job and also tired. So, from a positive point of view, it did not bother me. As a result, I did not call her again after that. As a side note, I left a message asking for her to get back to me as soon as possible. In the evening of the following day, I tried calling her again, but she did not pick up the phone. It occurred to me that I should go to her hospital as soon as I got the thought. It was necessary for me to go to the hospital. From our house, it was about a 45 minutes drive to the hospital. I was constantly being told by my brain that something was wrong the entire time I was driving. As soon as I reached the hospital, I went into the building. I got in and went to the ward that she told me was assigned to her. As soon as I inquired at the counter, they explained to me that she was working in the pediatric ward and that her duty wasn't here. As soon as I got there, I asked about her. It was said to me that she went to the doctor's cabin 10 minutes ago and she's in the room number 21. Upon reaching the room, I tried to open it, but I was not able to do so because it was locked. In the course of knocking on the door, I heard a loud bang. A very faint noise could be heard from the room. It was just a very small noise, but it was a bit clearer than I was expecting. There was a wall on the other side of the cabin that I went to. There was a small window in the room where I could see what was going on outside. As soon as I put the chair there, I got up to reach the window, which was at a height of about 10 feet. As soon as I saw it from the window, my heart sank deeply into my chest. Teresa was getting fucked on the checkup bed by the doctor. My mind was blown and I felt as if my legs were getting weaker and weaker by the minute. Even if I tried to stand there, I couldn't even do so. As a result, he fell from the chair in shock and fell to the ground. As a matter of fact, I had seen one of the worst things I had ever seen in my life. The reason why she cheated on me was something I kept asking myself over and over again. There was feeling that I was a coward. Perhaps if you've experienced this situation about yourself in the past, you'll be able to relate how it felt to me if you had the thought of death kept coming back to my mind again and again with a feeling of shame accompanied by it. After getting up from there, I walked to my car and cried a lot on the way there. As a result of crying, I felt a bit more relaxed afterward. However, I went to a nearby pub where I drank for the whole night, and in anger I decided to punish the whore brutally for her act. I went to her hospital the next day in the morning and met a woman who was standing nearby when all that happened to me last night in the hospital happened to me. As a midwife, she worked in the hospital as a nurse. She said she felt sad for me, but Teresa has been having an affair with that doctor for the last 1 month. In addition to that, this woman claimed to know everything about Teresa's action and activities. There was a time when she said she caught her getting pounded in the store by a doctor, but that doctor threatened me to lose my job if I revealed anything to anyone about what was going on. I didn't tell anyone because I couldn't risk losing my job if I told anyone. Due to the fact that she was a widow, I had 3 kids to feed and she was under a lot of pressure. According to her, she told me this because she had seen my situation last night and that is why she told me this. It was only after I asked her about her help and gave her a guarantee that her name would never be revealed to me that she would have to provide me evidence that would help me. I also promised her that I would give her money for her children if she needed it. When she agreed, I told her to record her whenever she went to the room of that doctor and give the recording to me whenever she got it. Her response was that she would try her best. As the days passed, she called me after a week and asked me if she could give her some money in advance because she had some loan payments to make. In my case, the amount I had saved was a risk for me, but I nevertheless gave it to her. As a result of my efforts, I had gathered this huge amount in 6 months, yet I had not cared about it. All I wanted to do was obtain evidence about her infidelity. A few days later, she contacted me and told me that she had recorded the video of her last meeting. Although it was a very short video, she still recorded it regardless of the fact that it was a very short video. In order to get the video recording, I went to meet her and got it. It was time to confront her about what had happened. I followed her to the hospital at night when she went to the hospital. As soon as I reached the hospital, I called everyone on the counter for it had to make a scene, so I broke the desk in anger and all of the staff had to appear before me. There was a big screen in the room and I plugged in a flash drive and played the video that was on it on that screen. It was then that she came to me in anger and tried to stop me. I slapped her on the face and told her to shut up. It is truly shameful what you've done, bitch, and you should feel ashamed of yourself. Could you please tell me what I had done to you? In return for what I had done, tears began to fall down on my cheeks, and I left the hospital with my head held high. As soon as I went home and gathered all her things, I packed it up and then I returned back to the hospital and left the bag on the counter for her and told her that she would receive the divorce papers within a couple of days. In 5 days, I arranged divorce papers, signed them, and sent them to the hospital for her to receive. The lady tried to contact me several times after she received the divorce papers, but it's over now, so I told her to leave me on my own. Since she could not tolerate, the girl came home many times in an attempt to make amends, but I had committed myself to leaving her forever, and I also left her. I sometimes feel like my heart is melting because of that tears and her begging, but I cannot handle it any longer. Every time I saw her, flashbacks of her infidelity flashed before my eyes whenever she was in front of me. Hence, I was unable to face her again because I did not have the balls to do so. In spite of this, she did not stop to approach me, so one day she came to my office and made a gesture there to ask for forgiveness. Anyhow, security managed to get her out, but I decided to leave the city so that I could start my new life with another person.